pledge allegiance
to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, agenda review. Special presentations, superintendent's report.
Yeah, good evening, everybody, and thank you so much for coming. We're so excited to have such a big group tonight. We're really excited to hear from Mary Casey Black in just a few minutes. And so for those of you that are here for different presentations and celebrations, just to kind of give you an overview. So I'm going to do a little slideshow about some of the great things that have happened in the district over the past few weeks since we had our last meeting. And then we're going to be able to recognize our wonderful school resource officer, Chris Bollinger, who's leaving us. And then we're going to get to Mary Casey Black and see what they've brought to show us tonight. And then we're going to swear in our two board members. So lots of exciting things to come, just so you know that. So in the meantime, I like to do a superintendent's report at every meeting and highlight some of the things that have taken place. And so there's so many great things. This is all the way back in November 14th, which seems a real long time ago. But Mrs. Venezia and some of the team out at Ron Nunn Elementary organized a walk to school event in honor of Ruby Bridges. It was a really fun time, and I want to thank board member Scott Dudek for also coming out and joining that. So it was a great thing. It was also Native American Heritage Month, so this is out at Marsh Creek. They had Jim Hernandez, who came out and did some storytelling and taught about Indigenous ways of life over a 2-day period to the classes. One of the great things about having young kids is they get older and they come back and they do Eagle Scout projects. So we want to thank Sam Neat, who's from Troop 159, who came out and did a painting project out in the kindergarten playground at Loma Vista Elementary. We also had Craig Bosco from Delta Breeze Lacrosse that came out for Indigenous and Native American Celebration Month and taught the students about lacrosse and its origins from a Native American history. This is our food services department has been doing a great job connecting with local farmers. So they connected here with Frog Hollow Farms and brought out persimmons to over 200 classes, many of whom had never had a persimmon before. And we did have some converts. We had some who will never have another persimmon, but we did have some converts in the group, and it was a great event, and I want to thank Food Services for putting it together. This is always fun to see. We're very proud that all 3 of our middle schools continue to have industrial arts programs, and so these are the famous strand board wooden whales that are being made out at Edna Hill Middle School. So you can see them using sanders and clamps and jigsaws to work on that. Also, I always love when math teachers try to make learning engaging and fun. It's one of the tougher subjects to do that with sometimes. And so here's Mrs. Nares, one of our great math teachers out at Edna Hill, who's having students were assigned an integer and had to line up in order. And that seems easy, but it's harder than it sounds sometimes. I was able to go out and visit the 8th graders out at Bristow in Mr. Boughton and Mrs. Terry's class. And they were recreating part of Lewis and Clark's expedition as part of their history learning. And so they did a whole day activity. They were using compasses and they had travel journals. It was really fun to see that. This is, we had a principal for the day, so I love this picture with Mrs. Becerra, Mrs. Adams with Onesi there. Apparently he did a very good job and was extra special good in the loop. So other schools, if you need help with some of your loop issues, Onesi's your guy. We're always appreciative of the Special Olympics programs that we get to participate in. So this is some Bristow students that were out for Special Olympics Soccer Day out at Heritage High on November 21st. Also, a special event before the pandemic, one of our teachers at Brentwood Elementary, or a former teacher, Shannon Morton, started bringing us a Kids Against Hunger program where kids from across the grade levels raise money and pack meals for needy kids, usually in a different country, and leadership kids from middle school. So these were Bristow leaderships that came over and helped lead that. And so we hadn't really done that since the pandemic, but this was the first time that they got to do it again. again. And so I want to thank Shannon, who's now retired from the district, but who helped start this a long time ago, and it's great to have that come back. Our English Learner Advisory Committee of our families at Marsh Creek came out and were participating and supporting the English Learner Program and learning how they could participate, so I appreciate them coming out. I want to congratulate our special educators of the month. So we have Elizabeth Whiteneck from Cray and Bernadette Benong from Brentwood Elementary and Trayvon Collins from Montañez and Brentwood Elementary. Really appreciate them and all their great work. They were nominated by and selected by their peers, so congratulations to them. These group, they were the winners of the Garin Gobble-Off, and so I've never been so disappointed to not be invited to a final event. So Mrs. Martin, I'm hoping next year I'll get an invite to the actual Gobble-Off when it happens, but I don't know if there's video available. Harvest Grow Virtual Academy, this is Mrs. Silvers does some cooking classes with the students virtually, so this was their Thanksgiving themed class, so that looks really fun. Just wanted to show that. One of the famous things that happens every year in Brentwood is several performances of No Turkey for Perky. And so this is the pioneer version of that. So if you haven't seen that, you're missing out. I would encourage you to do that. It's a wonderful kindergarten program. This was Brentwood Elementary's first ever multicultural festival that they put on. And I want to thank all the families and the staff and Mrs. Schneider for getting that set up. It was a great event. The Turkey Trot this year, if you got a chance to see that or hear about that, they had a record number of participants. They had over 2,400 participants in that. They raised approximately $75,000 to $80,000 for sports and athletic programs in both the Liberty Union High School District and the Brentwood School District. And so I want to thank the committee and everybody who came out to participate in that. It was a great event. Every year, our Loma Vista leadership students march in the Brentwood Holiday Parade. I think they're the highlight of the parade. Some people say it's Santa, but I think it's the Loma Vista leadership students. And so I want to share that picture with them. It was Grinch Day out on December 2nd at Pioneer in the second grade classes. And so they had lots of activities and Grinch themed lessons that happened all day. And the Grinch did make a special appearance in the classrooms. We have lots of winter programs that take place over this time of the year. And so this is a couple of pictures from Bristow's Jazz and Cadet Bands and their wind ensemble and their choir. And so these are tough tickets to get. It usually spreads out over a couple nights and it's full in there. So great performances. These are Montañez students. They're fourth and fifth grade, their first fourth and fifth grade class. They had a leadership retreat day where they focused on kindness and belonging, and they picked a house. So those of you that are Harry Potter fans, they were sorted into houses that'll build sort of teamwork, and apparently it was a really fun day. So happy for them. I want to thank everybody who's been donating to the Brentwood Regional Community Chest this year. We're expecting to support 500 local families in the area with a turkey dinner, with canned food and other non-perishable food and toys for all the children in the family. And this is supported largely by donors within the school district. So lots of teachers and staff and parents have been helping us get the word out. And that will come this Friday. We'll be sorting, and Saturday will be distribution out of Brentwood Elementary. So thank you to everybody who's been participating. This is Marsh Creek Elementary's annual Posada Winterfest event. So you can see this was the picture spot. So just a wonderful family event to celebrate this time of the year. Another family event out at Pioneer, they had a family art night hosted by the Pioneer Parents Club. It's a little hard to see in this picture, but they painted a winter snow scene. So it turned out really cute, fun to come out. This is my reminder to students or to parents who have middle school students. So these are Bristow students in the consumer arts classes who now know how to make crepes. So if you're struggling at home for something for dinner, your sixth graders can make crepes, some of them. So And then Mary Casey Black Families had some winter celebrations around the world event. So lots of great activities for all the families. And then December 7th, I see we have many of our finest in Brentwood PD. I want to thank them, and I want to thank all the middle school leadership classes who work together to put on Shop with a Cop. So this is an opportunity where our Brentwood PD takes students out to breakfast in the morning and then takes them to Target. They get donations for them to be able to shop for their families, and then they bring them back to, in this case, it was Edna Hill Middle School, where our leadership students help wrap all the presents that'll go back. So great event, and it's a great thing to be a part of. Another tradition is the partnership that Ron Nunn Elementary and their Kindness and Caring Club has with Somerset. And so this is a partnership where they come out and they do caroling out at Somerset. And this year there was a generous donation made by that club to the school. And so thank you for that partnership. We're very happy to have that. Winter Social at Edna Hill. So fun event for students going forward. One of the new clubs that I'm noticing out there, they have, it looks like Mrs. Jenkins is leading a crochet club. So it's a fun thing, lots of fun creations there. And then this was just at the end of last week, as Bristow's Jazz Band went out to Westmont, the senior community out there in Brentwood, and did a little concert for those folks. And so thank you to Mr. Morello and that group for doing that. Almost done. There's so much that happens in December. It's really hard to narrow all these things down. I want to thank the special ed team and Justine Melendez, who have been hosting All Abilities family events. So this was last Friday. This was a family art night, and we had great participation. So thanks to Justine and her team for doing that. I want to thank the mothers of Brentwood for coming together to wrap over 300 presents for some of our families in need. And then Brentwood Bikes and Brews, who donated bikes. So they do a fundraiser every year to donate bikes to many of our students. And so they basically adopt a family at each school as they go forward. So thank you to these wonderful community supporters. I thought these were fun pictures. This was out of Mrs. Durash's fifth grade class at Cray. So Ebenezer Scrooge, little holiday play out there. And then I want to congratulate our Delta Region AXA Administrators of the Year. So Patty Schneider was named as the Elementary Co-Administrator of the Year. Anna Foster, who's our Special Education Secretary, was named as District Support Employee of the Year. Nick Casey, who's principal who's here tonight, was named as Elementary Principal of the Year. So congratulations, Mr. Casey. And then Abby Wheeler was named as Secondary Co-Administrator of the Year. She's one of our wonderful vice principals out at Adams Middle School. So there'll be a dinner in their honor in March or April, and so we'll be celebrating them. I also want to take a special opportunity to thank retired teacher Lisa McLaughlin. So Lisa has, if you look around and you see these beautiful, the beautiful art that's up in our walls and here and throughout the district, Lisa has been volunteering for multiple years after she's retired to be in charge of our art docent program that brings art to all of our elementary schools. And so Lisa was honored as the AXA Friend of Education Award winner. So we're very, very proud of her and very much appreciative of her tireless work. And so at this point, I'd like to invite Officer Chris Bollinger up.
You want to take pictures with him?
What's that?
Let's go take pictures.
If you don't know Chris Bollinger, so Chris came to us in 2020, which is a strange time to come be a school resource officer as we were coming. We had another wonderful school resource officer that had been with us for a long time, and we were very worried. So Officer Rucker had been with us for a long time, done a great job, and he said, "Hey, I got this new guy that we want you to meet." And so Chris came out, and during that time, we quickly realized how caring and devoted he was. And so one of the things that I will say about Chris, and you can see it in some of the pictures out here, is he's taken a lot of time to really build positive relationships with students. He's come to schools, he's been involved, he's learned kids' names, he's learned staff names, and he's been really a positive anchor. One of our goals of our school resource officer program is to make sure that kids have police officers as positive role models. And Chris has been a positive role model to so many of our students. We know that he would like to stay with us, and we know that that's not my decision, right? Chief Herbert, 2, 4, 5. No, I'm just kidding. So no, but we are so appreciative of all the hard work that you've done for us, and I know we're gonna be thrilled with the new officer that we're getting, but we're really gonna miss you. And I just want to say thank you on behalf of the school board. I want to say thank you on behalf of our over 10,000 students and over 1,200 employees for all that you've meant to our district. So thank you.
Okay, let's go. Let's take pictures.
Thanks. That was close.
Mr. Dudek.
Let's give a round of applause.
Did you want to introduce the guy next to you? So the officer taking my spot is Officer McAfee. Everybody been with us for. So this is Officer King. He's been with our department for 18 years. He's done a lot of different positions at the PD, and he's going to be a great addition to the school district, and he's going to make a great SRO. So I'm excited to pass it off to him.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Welcome, Officer King. We're looking forward to having you. And that is the end of my report.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Eaton. Let's see. Board member comment, committee reports.
We just got back a couple of weeks ago from our annual board conference. This year it was in Anaheim. It was a good experience. It was very good bonding experience for us to get to know each other a little bit more. Our new board member, who hasn't been sworn in yet, but he was with us, and he got to see the thinkings and the how we operate outside of the shop. So that was probably very educational for him, and it was a good time. Anaheim's not San Diego, but we do the best we can. So. We'll pay you overtime if you want to stay.
They should have told us it was Red's camera.
All right. Student presentation, Mary Casey Black.
All right. Good evening, board. Thank you for having us tonight. I actually am very proud of our students here tonight who are going to share a little bit about what's going on at Mary Casey Black. So today we brought our leadership students in 4th and 5th grades. Oops. Sorry about that. And so we're going to be focusing around Goal 4, School Climate and Culture. So our leadership through service is an opportunity for our students to give back to the school community. Through volunteering, our 4th and 5th graders develop empathy, leadership abilities, and a sense of responsibility towards our school and community. And so these are just a few students. We actually have 62 4th and 5th graders out of 200 students in 4th and 5th grades. So a good percentage of our population. All of our students went through 4 rigorous training sessions after school to learn more about being leaders and what it takes to be a leader at our school and being positive role models. The other thing they did was we taught them all, we have 16 committees. And so last year, we started off with 8 committees where they volunteered throughout their day. This year, the popularity grew, and we have 16 committees where our students go through these committees that last about 2 weeks, and they volunteer in various areas. And they also run our school-wide rallies. And so our students here today are going to introduce themselves and share what those committees are. So I'll go ahead and start with Nolan.
Hello, my name is Nolan. I'm in 4th grade. I've been doing leadership for 4 months already, and one of the jobs of leadership in welcome a meeting. Welcome a meeting in where you open call doors and you greet them hello or good morning, and when it's a new student, you take them around the store and give them a tour. And one thing I like about leadership is that you're in a group and you get to meet new people.
Hi, my name is Piper. I'm a fifth grader at MCB. This is my second year of leadership. And another committee is kinder support. We help the kinder students and we walk them to the cafeteria. Some of us help inside the cafeteria and we get them their bowls, their utensils, and all their food. We walk them to their tables and we walk around the tables and open their food that they can't open themselves. One thing I like about leadership is that I get to meet a lot of new kids, and especially with kinder support, I get to make a lot of new little friends. Hello, my name is Lila Ordaz, and I'm a fifth grader at Mary Casey Black. I have been in leadership for 2 years now. The committee I'll be talking about today is called Beautification. In this committee, we will help clean our campus and clear up the trash. Pick up trash around the school, whether it is at our playground, in our grass, or in the hallways. One thing I enjoy about being in leadership is that I get to help our school grow and grow throughout the years. Something that I've learned from being in leadership is how to be responsible and work with others. Another slide that I'll be talking about is called conflict resolution. In this committee, we will walk around at recess and help the lower grades solve problems. If a problem gets a little out of hand, we will use the peace path. The peace path is where we walk through a conversation and help them solve their problems. Thank you and have a great night. Hi again. Another committee is the Positive Message Crew. We create posters and we stick them around the door. They all have positive messages on them. We try to send kind messages to our peers to help them and have a good day the rest of the day. Good evening. My name is Roosevelt Reese. I'm a fourth grader at MCB, and one of the slides I'll be taking you through today is junior coaching. As a junior coach, you'll be going to either a first, second, or third grade recess, setting up a game, or to make them have fun and inviting people to have more fun at recess if they don't have anything to do. As a staff assistant, you'll be going door to door and to help a teacher, student, or staff with whatever they need help with, either getting help as if carrying things to another classroom or getting work done. One thing leadership has taught me is that it's taught me tons and tons of responsibility, because it has taught me responsibility because you have to remember where to go and what time to go. One thing I really, really, really like about leadership is that you get to switch to a new fun job around every 2 weeks. Thank you for your time this evening.
Hello, my name is Mila. I am fifth grade. I've been doing leadership for 2 years now. Committee I'm going to be talking about is recycling. In recycling, we go around to pick up every teacher's recycling every Friday. A couple of things I like about leadership is meeting new people and and giving back to our school community. A couple things I've learned about leadership is how to be responsible and how to manage my schoolwork with my job. Another thing that we do is host grade level rallies. In rallies, each grade level comes together and eats for the spirit stick.
Good evening. My name is Patty Barbosa, and I am the counselor at Mary Casey Black. And our MCB staff shared with us the positive impact that our leadership students have had on our campus. One of our second grade teachers shared, the leadership students have had a positive effect on the younger students at MCB. They offer fun and engaging activities at recess, and they give the younger students something to aspire to. Our SDC teacher shared, I would like to commend the excellent opportunity that having the student leadership students affords my students. They serve as a friendly role model and interact in a positive and instructional way with my SDC moderate and severe class, whether marching around during music, playing at recess, or chatting at the lunch tables. It helps everyone build bridges of friendship and understanding between different populations of students. We are grateful for this program and hope that it continues to provide valuable growth opportunities for all involved.
Good evening. My name is Maria Sanchez, and I'm the Vice Principal of Mary Casey Black, and I will be sharing a little bit of two of our parent voices. Fourth grade parent, my son was so excited to become a fourth grade so he could join the leadership program. He takes his role very seriously. I appreciate the leadership program for my son because it instills a sense of responsibility, helps him develop essential leadership skills, and expose him to various roles that teach adaptability and accountability. I'm very grateful for the staff that has organized such an enriched program. Fourth grade parent, my daughter Lillian is a fourth grade at Mary Casey Black. She applied for the Leadership Through Service Club with some apprehensiveness. She would not get a good recommendation from her previous teacher or that she could not get accepted. Fortunately, she's a great kid and received a positive recommendation. Lillian has taken this role very serious with a strong sense of responsibility. Through each rotation of job assignments, Lillian has learned more about herself. She has been able to identify which roles she enjoys, those that feel rewarding. The Leadership Through Service Club has been a great way for Lillian to learn leadership skills, gain maturity, and develop a true sense of belonging in her school community.
So again, thank you guys for your ears tonight. I just want to, like I say, just commend our leadership students. They are working really, really hard in their roles. Rain or shine, they're very responsible. They know where to go, and it's working really sweet. So thank you guys for all that you do, and have a great night.
All right. On behalf of the Brentwood School Board, I'd like to present the certificate of appreciation to all of our students. BJ, Mary Casey Black, and a welcoming community for all our students. Could I have Piper Brown? Anya? She's sick tonight. Mason. She's sick tonight. Lila? Vila? And Nolan?
Good job, guys.
Thank you very much, Mary Casey Black. As always, you guys were the highlight of our meeting. So some of you we're going to be sending job offers to here soon.
In just a couple months.
Thank you, parents.
Do we do public comments? Public comments next? Okay.
At this time, the public is permitted to address the school board on items that are on the consent calendar, requests for future agenda items, and items that are not on the agenda. Remarks are limited to 3 minutes per person. While we encourage your comments, unfortunately, state law prevents us from discussing items that are not on our meeting agenda. Public comments can be made at this time or during the appropriate agenda item. We do take them very seriously, and if appropriate, staff will follow up. Public comments can also be submitted via email to nclevin@brentwood.k12.ca.us.
I'll make a motion.
Are you going to state the agenda item?
That one's later. So
She has one as well.
I'll make a motion. We open public comment.
I'll second.
all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Right. So the first one is Lisa Bustillos.
Yes, good evening. As the Brentwood Teachers Association president, I want to communicate the accomplishments and acknowledge the challenges as we reach the halfway point of the 24-25 school year. This year, we've had our dedicated bargaining team come to the table with innovative ideas that have to improve the impacted working conditions of our members, along with problem solving at negotiations between both teams and in a timely manner. We have had members stand up for each other and advocate. We care and provide a strong support system for one another. We have counselors and intervention teachers who work with students whose work with students is critical in addressing behaviors that derail classroom teaching. If you're a counselor, can you stand up for us right now? We have a group here. Thank you. Thank you. Our adults are working to help each other and help our students. When we care for our teachers and staff, they're even better at caring for the students, and everyone wins. When we look at the challenges ahead of us, we know the financial twists and turns we'll face will not be easy. Forming a budget committee with all of our stakeholders is a key element to help us traverse those winding roads. BTA is proud to work alongside our union partners, our board members, parents, and district leadership to understand and review budget obstacles. We work to resolve concerns from our members, and just yesterday shared a mid-year data report about those concerns to our site reps and Dr. Eaton. This allows us to reflect on how to improve the systems. When we look at attendance rates, the district is still approximately 2-3% lower percent attendance than we saw before COVID. When you consider that 1% is equivalent to a little more than $1 million, that's a huge impact. And we want to partner to help get back to those levels or higher. Our teachers care about our district and want the best for our students. Successful, happy, healthy young learners come from successful, happy, healthy adults that surround them. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Are there any more public comment cards? Okay.
Move that we close public comment.
All in favor, say aye.
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 All right, next, consent items, 8.0 to 8.9.
Anybody want any of them pulled on the consent items? I'll make a motion that we approve 8.0 to 8.9.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right. 9, hearings and appeals. None. Presentations, reports, and other action items. 10.1, oath of office.
For 10 to.
Okay, if I could have Dr. Thornhill and Dr. Dow Jensen join me over here, please.
Okay.
So we didn't have an election recently because we had 2 spots open and we had 2 people put in for those spots. And so it's my honor tonight to swear both Dr. Dow Jensen and Dr. Thornhill in. And so this is a good one where you don't have to repeat after me. I'm just going to read it and you have to either I do or I don't. So hopefully you'll say I do. Do you, Dr. Dow Jensen and Dr. Thornhill, solemnly swear swear that you will support and defend the Constitution of the United States, the state of California, against all enemies, foreign and domestic, that you will bear true faith and allegiance to the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of California, that you take this obligation freely without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion, and you will well and faithfully discharge the duties upon which you are about to enter. Congratulations. Wait, hold on. Don't go anywhere. All right. I have a certificate for you both. Here you go. This is yours.
Open it up and get a picture real quick with Dr. Amy. There you go. All right, 1, 2. Perfect.
Normally we have cake, but it's a tough budget year.
Dr. Thornhill, or Dr. Dow Jensen, did you want to introduce anybody in the audience? Or I know this is your second time around, so okay. Did you?
Yeah, sure. Thanks. I realize that the first thing I need to work on in this new job is to say the Pledge of Allegiance a little better.
That'd be awesome.
Luckily, everybody knows it.
And raise your right hand.
Yeah. First, I just want to thank my family for coming out and for, our family's been involved in the school district for many years. And so a lot of you in the teachers in here know Joe and Taylor Thornhill. And I appreciate you guys being here today. And my daughter Amy is here with the youngest person in the audience, with her daughter Maggie, who's 17 months old, Denise and our granddaughter, and Denise. And some of you may know Denise from the years that she served. 34 years as a teacher in Brentwood. She started at Hill Brentwood School, then at Hill, and then finished at Bristow. So thank you for being here. And I'd also just I got you here for a moment, is just to thank. There's been a lot of people that welcomed me, and because when I applied earlier in the year, there was nobody to run against. So instead of campaigning, I just started to try to meet people so that have those relationships going into the job. So I'd like to thank all the principals for inviting, having me out there at your school and taking me through everything. It was great, and I felt great about that. And the same thing with all the leaders in the district and the leaders of the unions. And so thank you so much for all that. It's helped me give me a nice little induction into the district. Scott says thought it was incomplete. I also appreciate, I met with all the board members prior to doing it too.
Thank you. You are 0 for 3, my friend.
Before we move to the next item, I would like to suggest that perhaps with the busy Christmas time and all, that we allow our principal staff to leave. The only thing I'm going to request is that as you go out, would you go out through us and shake hands, and we can each give each of you a happy holiday.
To be honest with you, Principal of the Year was begging us to do this, so. All right, enjoy. Merry Christmas, you guys.
Why don't we go ahead and take a 5-minute break, and then we'll come back. Yeah.
You know what? I didn't
Have a great break. You guys, all you do, enjoy your break. See ya. I want you to like stick around. That's fine. See you again. You can leave right out. Who's that other one that Good luck, you guys. All right. So we have a marriage. Okay, hi. Have a good holiday. Yeah. All right, good luck. Talk to you about
Now you can vote. Awesome responsibility.
Yeah. Now you can vote. Now you can vote no over and over again. You can vote no all over the place.
Test.
I should have been.
Okay, are we ready?
All right. 10.2, Board Post-Issuance Report on General Obligation Bonds.
Yes, good evening. Tonight, Danielle Aruda, who's our specialist from K&N Financial Advisors, she's going to speak to some good news about a bond that we just sold. And it's now it's our 2024 series for $9 million. So we just have a short presentation.
Thanks, Diane. Good evening, board members, Superintendent Eaton. Great to be with you. As Diane mentioned, the reason for my visit is to provide a post-issuance report. And this is to be in compliance with California Ed Code 15146. So we're providing some various post-issuance items for your consideration. So with that, if we can advance to the first slide. Thank you. On October 23rd, the district sold its fourth series under the 2016 Measure B for a total amount of $9 million of par or principal. Following the issuance, the 2016 Measure B has a remaining authorization amount of $54 million. Some key highlights from the sale include the affirming of the district's rating at AA3 for Moody's, as well as broadening its investor base with some additional institutional investors who have yet to purchase the district's bonds. Overall, the actual sale process went very smoothly. We did have an instance where the underwriter had to commit capital and underwrite $2.7 million of unsold balances, but we'll chat a little bit about that in a later slide. Overall borrowing cost of 4.53% for 30-year debt. Next slide, please. Thank you. As I mentioned, the 2024 series belongs to the Measure B authorization that was passed by voters in June of 2016 with an overall voter approval of 57.3%. In the lower right-hand corner, you can see the 4 boxes that is indicative of the 4 series that were issued. What I do want to point out is in the near future, the district has the opportunity to refund or refinance Measure B debt that was previously issued. You can see the Series 2016 bonds are eligible to be refinanced in August of 2026. So it'll give the district an opportunity to revisit the overall structure of Measure B and consider maybe restructuring as well as looking to achieve taxpayer savings through a refinance. Next slide, please. Actually, let me go ahead and add here too, because Measure B is only one of the 3 other authorizations that the district has. This question has come up in the past. So in terms of the prior authorizations that the district has, the election of 1990, which is Measure A, all of those bonds associated with that authorization have been paid off. election of 1997, also known as Measure B. That final maturity will be in 2026, so very soon here. And then finally, the election of 2023, also known as Measure B, its final maturity will be 2031. So following 2031, the only bonds that will be outstanding will be these Measure B bonds for the 2016 authorization. Next slide, please. In September, when the district went ahead and considered the issuance of the Series 2024 bonds, the resolution included various good faith estimates. There were 3 items in particular that were included. The finance charges, basically those are the various charges associated with issuing the bonds, the costs for the underwriter, the costs for the ratings, the cost for bond and disclosure counsel, as well as K&N's fees. Those all make up the financing charges. The true interest cost, or the borrowing cost, was also provided. And then finally, the net total debt service, or what the taxpayer will owe for the issuance of these bonds. In the top of the chart there in the middle, you can see those good faith estimates. In blue are the various estimates for those 3 categories that I just discussed. And to the right, you can see the final pricing results. Good news is that for the financing charges as well as the borrowing costs, we came in under those estimates. Costs were $5,000 or so less than estimated. Borrowing costs 0.2% lower than the estimate. And then the net debt service, for that, it's a bit of an outlier given the fact that the original estimate assumed a $7.5 million issuance. Once we had the chance to collaborate with the underwriter, RBC, we were able to come up with a more efficient structure and actually increase the overall borrowing amount by $1.5 million. So obviously when we upsize the transaction, there is going to be more debt service associated with it. So you can see that there was a $3 million increase in debt service there. On the lower portion, you can see the projected tax rate moving forward, each of the bars signifying the various series that are outstanding for Measure B, the 2016, 19, 2022, and then in green, we have the Series 2024 GO bonds. And then finally, the dotted orange markers that are listed there, you can see is the tax rate commitment that the district made to voters at $28 per 100,000 of AV. In the projections, we've used very conservative 4% AV growth rate, and it looks as though we will be able to stay well under that $28 tax rate with those various projections. So, any questions? Great. This next slide I like putting together to give the board a perspective in terms of the interest rate environment from the most recent sale that took place in 2022 till now. Obviously, a lot has happened in those 2 years. We've had inflation come to the forefront for most investors. We've also had the Federal Open Market Committee, or FOMC, take action to reduce its target rate by 25 basis points, or 0.25%. This is the first time that something like that has happened since 2020, and that took place in September. And then finally, let's not forget our presidential election that happened just last month. So a lot of various factors that have influenced the interest rate markets. You can see there's been plenty of hills as well as valleys in this in this interest rate chart. What we want to stress is obviously it's very difficult to try to time the market. So rather than do that, let's stick to best practices, which would be, let's do what's best for the taxpayer and issue bonds when we need to finance those capital projects that Measure B has promised to them. So in doing that, we can then work to create an efficient structure and make sure that borrowing costs stay reasonable. Moving on to the next slide. This provides the board with an overview of the actual orders that came in on the morning of the sale. The RBC team was successful in generating $6.3 million in orders. Overall, as I mentioned before, $9 million in total bonds to sell. So there was a slight amount of undersold or unsubscribed for bonds. And the reason that a negotiated sale takes place is you want that backstop from the underwriter to take accountability and to commit their capital to buy those bonds. And so the RBC team did do that. They purchased 2.7 million of unsold balances, took those into inventory, and worked it off over time with investors. It has been a very volatile time in the market, but they were successful in working those off within a week, which is good to hear. Participation from investors ranged from banking institutions to insurance firms. And for the most part, most of those investors are brand new to the Brentwood credit. So as the district sees an expanding universe of investors, this will not only raise the credit profile of the district, but also attract more investors to purchase the bonds due to the added liquidity. And these are all positive facts that will help, again, attract investors to buy and hold the district's bonds, as well as participate in future bond sales. So with that, I wraps up my presentation. I hope I was pithy enough for you, Dr. Eden.
Great, Danielle, thank you.
Sure. Happy holidays, by the way. Happy New Year.
Questions or anything for Danielle?
I'd just like to thank KNN Finance. And so since I arrived here 18 months ago, I've been working closely with Danielle, and I've worked with other firms. And I have to say, we're highly impressed, and we are in excellent hands with KNN Finance. I mean, they go into deep dive with answers every question, explains everything, looks at all the variables, looks at the district options. I mean, I think KNN and Danielle really have the district's best interests in the forefront of the work they do for us. So thank you.
Thank you, Diane.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. Should we open public comments for 10.3?
Move that we open public comment.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right. First person is Ezra Smith.
Good evening. I'm Ezra Smith, and I'm a school counselor at Pioneer Elementary. And most of us just would agree that life just goes by way too fast. And no matter if you're a superintendent, one of the members of the school board, admin, teacher, parent, student, we would probably all agree that there's one thing that just could bring our life to a halt, to an abrupt stop. And that's when we lose a loved one in death. And sadly, so many in the BUSD family have lost loved ones in death. Well, when this happens, we know that maybe we'll take a few days off from work or off from school, and then we're kind of expected to perform. And not just for others, but even ourselves. We understand that life goes on. But we still need help from the day to day. We still need that social and emotional support. And sometimes we're quick just to say, well, therapy. And for some, maybe they can afford it. Some maybe they can't. Some maybe they don't have the circumstances to go every week. Maybe it's just once a month, or they can't go in person, so they do it over Zoom. But just recently, I have a student who said, even though I have a therapist, I can't open up the way I open up to you. And I said, why? It's because you know me since kindergarten. I trust you. I know you and you know me. You know my family. And so just hearing that just made me think of the social and emotional skills that we teach our kids truly help them, because we're there throughout the week. And sometimes with grief, it can hit you at the weirdest times, the most inconvenient times. And it's wonderful, not just that I could be there, but these wonderful, dedicated, caring professionals, these school counselors that just don't support their schools, but support all the schools within our districts. So I just wanted to thank all of you just for having the counseling support here at BUSD. It's a true pleasure to work for you.
Next is Shannon Biggs.
Hello, I'm Shannon Biggs. That's obviously a tough act to follow. Ezra's always so eloquent. I am the lead counselor for the school district here, and I have been here with you guys almost 15 years. I am the oldest or longest running counselor here. I'm incredibly proud of this team that we've created. It started a long time ago with a few of us doing a couple hours here and there, and we've turned into this amazing, full, incredible team that works together to create the best experience for all Brentwood students. We run cohesive lessons. All of our kindergarten, first and second graders know the exact same thing, have the exact same vocabulary. We are able to support kids, yes, with social, emotional, academic, but beyond. Like Ezra said, we build these relationships, and because we can support them from kindergarten all the way through fifth and then at middle school is just incredible. We get to see families, we get to grow with families. It's just amazing. But what I want to focus on today and why I think counseling funding is so important is these people that came here to support me. I have 2 teachers and a school psychologist. Now we're a family, you know, we've been working together for a long time, but we all work together. This is not just a counselor or just a psychologist or just a teacher. Every interaction we do. Today's a good example. Today, I ran Santa Gary photos, which you probably don't know. I know Dr. Eden is aware. We have our mascot dress up as Santa, and all the kids come in and take pictures with Santa Gary. Now, that may not be the top of your list of a thing for a counselor to do. That's in my recess, don't worry. In between that, I had 3 different CPS reports. I did conflict mediation. I took over a class. I did a group on anger, another group on social skills, and let's see, I had 3 parents show up that were in distress. And that's a Wednesday. And I love that I can be there. I love that I can help. I love that I can be in the office. I love that I can be all over campus. We also had a sing-along today. And for 5 minutes, I got to go be out and sing Jingle Bells with 800 of my closest kids. I say this because these are points of contact. These are connections that we get to make. We got our data in from today, district-wide, since the 31st of July. We have had, it is basically 47,000 points of contacts. Our counselors have interacted 47,000 times with children in that short frame of 4 months. And that's something that speaks volumes. It's not, that's averaging a couple contacts per kid. No one's alone, and they have us. And I support my teachers, and I'm in there as much as I can. I know they support me, but there's no way they can get the nitty-gritty the way that we can. And we're trained in that, and that's what we love to do. And my team is impressive, and they love to care. They love to counsel. They love to connect. So thank you for giving us the opportunity to consider keeping us loving these kids. Thank you so much.
Next is Crayan Souza.
Hi. I told you how to say my name. Everybody here made it look so easy to get up here and talk, and it's not, but I am Crayan Souza. This is my 4th year as a BUSD counselor. I really want to thank Dr. Eden and the board for the support that you've always given our students and supporting their counseling services. It's really important, and I appreciate that you guys are aware of how important we are. I'm personally advocating for 892 students, and after winter break it'll be 894, but right now it's 892 students that I support at my school site. And these students all have a large variety of mental health needs, and it is essential that I am, as their full-time counselor, there for them every day, Monday through Thursday. They know they can see me. They know they can ask their teacher to come see me. It's vital that they have that, like Shannon had talked about, our connections, just for a large variety of needs. I'm really thankful that Dr. Eaton really understands the importance of mental health, just because I know personally he's let me know how important he knows it is, and I appreciate that you as a board are also aware of our student needs and how important it is that they have full-time counseling support at their school sites. So thank you for that. Thank you for recognizing the significant impact that we as counselors have at our school sites. It's really important to us. Our staff, our sites, and most especially the students are really important to us. Thank you.
Next is Catherine Daniels.
Hello, my name is Catherine Daniels, and I'm the social emotional counselor at Edna Hill Middle School. This is my 9th year in this position, and I could go on and on about how much I love my job and how valuable I think counselors are. But I thought it might be more beneficial for you to hear from students. Over the years, students have written me thank you cards for various reasons, and I just wrote down some of the things that were in these cards that I thought would be important for you to hear. A 7th grade student wrote, "Dear Mrs. Daniels, I just wanted to say thank you for never giving up on me no matter what." She ended this letter with, "Thank you for always being there for me and making me feel at home." An 8th grade student wrote, "Thank you for helping me and making me feel better. Once we talked, I've been feeling a lot better and more confident in myself." Another 7th grade student said, "Thank you for being there for me while I adjust to this school. You are my favorite person on campus. I love you." From an 8th grade student, "Thank you for being my safe place in my life." From a previous student, "You were really just a huge impact on my life. Honestly, you were like a second mother to me." Another past student, "I don't want to sound sappy, but thank you for listening to me and always being there for me." One last one, "Thank you so much for everything you have done for me. You have helped me so much, and I truly would not be alive and here if it wasn't for all of your help. I love and appreciate you more than you will ever know." As a counselor, it's a bit awkward for me to come up here and share all of these comments from students, especially when it's geared towards me. But I really wanted to take a moment and show you just how powerful it is for our students to feel seen and be heard. And having school counselors full-time at every site allows students that opportunity. So thank you.
Next is Aubrey Apollo.
Got to get my glasses here. Hold on a second. I am not a counselor. I'm a 4th grade teacher at Garin. And tonight I want to take a moment to tell you about, let's see if I can get through this. Mrs. Biggs said that we are a family, and we are a family. Our school counselor within our school community. I think you know that as a counselor, they counsel, but I don't think you realize all the other things that counselors do. The role of a school counselor encompasses so many vital functions that significantly impact the well-being and growth of our students. Our counselor is dedicated to supporting our students by providing individual attention to those who need it most. And of course, this goes for everybody, but I know one in specific. She meets with kids one-on-one, offers a safe space for them to express their feelings, seek guidance, and navigate the challenges they may face. In addition to this, she organizes small group sessions that foster connections and understanding among peers. She helps students build relationships and develops essential social skills. Beyond individual support, our counselor passionately plans cultural celebrations that enrich our school's environment. Through these celebrations, she introduces us and our students to diverse cultures, promoting inclusivity and appreciation for the rich tapestry of the background of our community. She organizes engaging student activities such as Santa Gary, which you all need to come experience next year because it's now over. Sorry, I lost my spot. She acts as a mentor and trainer for our student conflict managers. These students play a crucial role during recess, helping their peers resolve conflicts and promoting a peaceful playground environment. With her guidance, our school becomes a place where everyone feels heard and respected. Recognizing the need for a quiet space, our counselor also has created a dedicated recess room for students who just need some downtime. The Safe Haven offers a refuge for those who need a break, allows them to recharge and return to their activities when they feel refreshed. Before recess became mandatory, she helped our school implement clubs that students could attend and help foster their friendships and interests. Additionally, she constantly checks in with students and teachers, ensuring that everyone feels supported and connected. Whether it's facilitating friendships or helping someone navigate a tough situation, her commitment to our well-being is unwavering. In conclusion, our school council counselor is more than just a support figure. They are companions to our students. Their tireless efforts in creating a nurturing and culturally rich environment have made a profound difference in our school community. Please take a moment to recognize and appreciate all that the counselors do for our students and our schools as they continue to inspire and empower each of us to flourish. Thank you.
Next is Patty Barbosa.
Good evening. My name is Patty Barbosa, and I am the counselor at Mary Casey Black. I am here to share with you the importance of the counseling program that has been part of my life for the last 4 years. This is my 26th year in the school district, and I was a teacher for 22 years before I became a counselor. I realized before COVID the need the students had for social emotional guidance and how it became even greater after the pandemic. I love my job because I get to help all 700 students and their families. I always ask, how can I help? That's how I approach my students, teachers, staff members, and families. I build these trusting relationships just like all of our counselors do, because we know that these students put their trust in us. They feel comfortable coming to us when they need us. I like to do loop duty every morning because students will come and they will check in with me. Families will come to me and say, can you please check in on my child? This is what happened this morning. And that allows me to make that morning connection with them and follow through the day. I have one student that I would like to share a story about with you. This particular student was struggling staying at school at the beginning of the school year. They were scared. I provided the emotional support they needed, got to know them, checked in frequently. Every day, the student became a little less scared, as the student described. Now the student comes up to me and says, Mrs. Barbosa, I didn't cry today. I'm not scared anymore, and walks away with a big smile on their face. This is one of the reasons that we need our counselors. The students know that we know them since they are in kindergarten and build that relationship with them through their years all the way through 5th grade. We are also there to connect them with resources outside of school. We have families who are going through difficult situations and just don't know where to begin. When we get to know the families, we can help them in making those connections and giving them a starting point. As a bilingual counselor, I'm able to focus with my Spanish-speaking families as well and navigate an educational world or anything in our community that they may need connection with, local organizations or anything. For example, right now with the holidays, we have many families who come to me and ask, what can we do in terms of food and gifts? And that's an opportunity that I can support them. Our counseling program is not just helping students in need, but also building on who they are and providing positive opportunities for growth, like our Leadership Through Service program, the positive messaging group, the conflict managers group that I lead in our school. Being a counselor is very important to me, because I am one piece, as well as all these counselors here. We are one piece of the puzzle, that we meet the needs of the whole child, just like our mission statement states. I would be grateful if we can continue with our counseling program. Thank you.
Emperatriz Vega.
Hi, my name is Emperatriz Vega. I wasn't going to speak because I'm very shy in reality, but once I saw the 4th and 5th graders, I was like, hey, if they can do it, then I need to step up and I need to do it because, I have to be what I am, a counselor. You've heard from all the counselors, all the amazing things that we do. I invite all of you to come and see us in action. Come see us talking with our students. Come see us in the classrooms. See the rapport that we've built over the years with our students, from TK now, all the way up to 5th, and even former students that will email us, come by the campuses and say, hey, Ms. Vega, how are you? We work hard to build those connections with our students so that they always know that there's one adult at least that they can go to if they needed help with anything. I love my office. I love my school. I love my coworkers. I really wish you can all come and see the wellness room and experience what kids and staff can experience when they walk into the wellness room. I've worked really hard to create a safe, peaceful environment that as soon as you walk in, you're just like, wow, this is here. Kids recognize how fortunate they are to have something like that. And it makes them so much more calm when they come into the wellness room. So if you have time, I would love to invite you and show you and walk you through the different things in the wellness room and why they're placed there strategically, because our school did go through a trauma-informed practices training. So things are strategically placed in the wellness room to help students that may have experienced trauma. So thank you for considering keeping counselors. I hope that it doesn't become a debate in the future and it's just something that we always have. Thank you.
Okay. All right, are there any more public comment cards?
Move that we close public comment.
I second that motion.
Say it in there.
I second that motion.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right. 10.3, approval of first interim report.
Okay, I have to reconnect. Sorry. Your timer took over. I'm doing it, Robert. I'm just slow. There we go. Good evening. Tonight we're presenting the first interim budget report. This is a requirement by Ed Code, the school district budget. As you know, we always look at this slide. So every school district in the state of California has to present budgets to the board for their adopted budget in June, what we call the first interim at the December board meeting, and second interim presented in March. So tonight's first interim are the financials through October 31st. So when we talk about what does this budget look like compared to when we brought the original budget in June? Well, now school has been in session since the very end of July. So all the district hiring was completed, which means all the salaries are real people. They're not just positions where people retired, new positions, people are hired. So their salaries are scheduled on the right step, column. All the benefits are set up in terms of what kind of health benefits they're taking. And then we've run payroll, September and October were complete. Payroll's completely full. This budget does include our 23-24 negotiated salary increases that the district approved in August and September. And as part of every full cycle budget or interim, we have to approve a 3-year projection, which we call multi-year projections, that this year and the 2 out years can certify that they meet their financial obligations. I like to start with this slide because we always talk about LCFF, local control funding formula. This is how all the districts in the state are funded. And just very briefly to remind us that there's a base grant for each sort of section of students by grades, and everybody in every district in the state of California gets the same amount to start. And then they have supplemental funding, and then this concentration grant funding, and it's based on your unduplicated pupil percentage. So depending on how many students you have in certain categories, you get additional amounts of money. And our district is one of the lowest funded in the state on this LCFF formula. So as I said, we have base grant funding, and then we get supplemental funding. And we're going to spend a few minutes talking about what supplemental, it's part of the LCFF language, supplemental funding means. So as I said, it's the indicator is called the UPP, unduplicated pupil percentage, and it's based on the student population in our district of English language learners, students of low income, and foster and homeless youth. So we have had an increase in our UPP account supplemental funding since last year. So we're just going to take a look at how that came about. So if you remember back in 2022-23, Governor Newsom signed into law what they call universal meals, where every student in the state of California gets a free breakfast and lunch. So UPP counts used to be heavily populated by a free and reduced meal application that families would fill out or online and qualify for breakfast and lunch. Well, in 22-23, they didn't need to do that anymore. So as a result, our UPP count began to decline. Also in 22-23, the district purchased a new student information system, which we know as ARIES. So last year, 23-24, some more talk and focus went on to the UPP. So that the board directed our superintendent and all of management to sort of really take a look actively to review and research how can we increase our unduplicated pupil percentage. What can we do? Because if a student qualifies for that, they really get some significant increased services and support. So one thing it was determined as a new user of ARIES is that there was a component called the income survey that can be added to the annual parent data confirmation. So when I go in as a parent every year before school starts, I have to confirm all my information, or if I'm a new parent with new students, I add that in. And so basically it's just another segment of the form that comes up on this window, and it asks the questions that the free and reduced application used to ask. So how many in your family? What is your income? And the USDA federal guidelines are uploaded into the ARIES system, so it calculates if they qualify as an unduplicated student for services. So in last year, through using ARIES and researching what it could do, it was decided to add this income survey component to this year. So this year, one of the things the district did, which had a big impact, was we added this income survey component. And this, a lot of parents completed it, probably most parents completed it. And so they don't all qualify. They have to meet these federal guidelines, but what it did increase our count for UPP. At the same time, our food services department developed some new information. They had an education benefits form flyer, which used to be called the free and reduced form, but it talked about everything you can get if you do sign up for this, if you're not already participating in this. And they worked with principals, and the principals worked really hard and consistent to do messaging through newsletters, emails, and just really letting their families know that this is available. And so I also just wanted to share this education benefit form, or if you are a student that qualifies for UPP services, you also qualify for our ELOT program. That's our before and after school care, and it becomes free for to parents for any students that are in that supplemental funding component UPP. They also get summer food assistance. It's now through like a EBT card, so they can get meals for the students can have meals during the summer. They can apply for discounted PG&E, internet services, and also additional free transportation. So because of this new focused approach, our district went up significantly in all areas. We went up we went up in the free and reduced category, as they call it, or low income, through the ARIES portal. But we also, not necessarily fortunately, but the number of homeless, the number of foster youth went up as well this past year. So in 1 year, our UPP went up by 16.5%. which is significant. So when you take a look at, it says increase in UPP. So at first interim, which is this budget report, we have 4,382 students that qualify for UPP services. And that is going to give us a 32.96% UPP. And when we came to the board in June, our adopted budget, we had 2,650 students. And that is what we've been averaging over the course of the last 4 to 5 years at 27%. And what I want to also explain is the funding is based on a rolling 3-year average. And in part, the state does that for declining districts. Now, because we went up so much in 1 year, we will get increased funding over the course of the next 3 years as long as it continues to grow. And then the funding would be sustained. So if you look at that slide or you take a look at this year, so for this, in this budget, the first interim, it includes an increase of 1.2 million in revenue for our supplemental funding. And then if we continue to be consistent at this level of UPP, next year we would get 2.4 million. And then in 26-27, we would get 3.7 million increase of what we previously had funded for these targeted group of students. So what does this do for our budget? Well, it has obviously a really powerful positive impact. So what we will be able to do, taking the 1.2 million from this year and then the 2.4 million in addition from next year, we could keep the 6.0 FTE counselors and 10.18 FTE intervention teachers that were slated to be reduced in the next school year because they were paid by one-time money that was going away, which go ahead.
Yeah, no, so I wanted to provide clarity to the agenda items that's here, right? And so this is an action item because you're approving the first interim budget, which is required. But this also is an item that we're making sure that we have your approval to continue funding the counselor and the intervention teacher positions as we go forward. It's not something that takes a formal action, but it would require us changing a position from one-time funding to our supplemental funding as we go forward. I think one of the things that's been really challenging as we've been coming up on this year is the board was very strategic when we received the one-time money from the state and the federal government through COVID, right? That's where this money came from. And while other districts held on to it, the board had directed us at that time to make sure that it went to the students who needed it most. And at the time, right, coming out of the pandemic, we knew that students needed mental health support. And so it was the board's direction to spread that money out over several years and provide additional counseling. So our elementary schools had a half-time counselor and our schools did not have intervention programs. Our middle schools had a 1.5-time counselor that was there. So at that time, we made them full-time at every elementary school and 2 full-time counselors at every middle school. And then we added an intervention program with a teacher at every elementary school and several sections at the middle schools. That money was set to run out at the end of this year. And while the need is still there, the money wasn't. And we were struggling to figure out how we were going to do that. I think one of the things I want to say, especially while some of these people are in the room, is we think that this program is very important. But one of the reasons that it's so important is because in both the counselors that you see and both the intervention teachers that we have exceptional people in those positions. We have people that over the last few years have not only done a great job in their own programs, but in both the intervention and the counseling programs, they've worked together to build systems. They've worked together to support each other, to improve what they do, to enhance what happens at the school. And I think you heard some of that in the comments that you had tonight. but these are people who have a tremendous impact on the campuses that there are. And so I am thrilled to be able to make that recommendation to you, and assuming that you don't push back at all or ask me to do something different, when we approve the action for the interim budget, we would go ahead and switch the funding for this going forward, and this would continue on for next year.
I know. Does that question? Can I ask just one quick question?
Sure.
So 24, 25, that's an increase, like you said, at 1.2. Is that because it's this year and last year? That's why the average is.
No, great question. I think what you're asking is why does it change each year? Like it goes up every year incrementally. And it has to do with, because actually our UPP for this year is 43%, but we're going to be paid at 32% because it's the average of the last 2 years and this year. And the last 2 years was 27. Then next year it goes up to 38% because we have 1 year of 27 and then 43 and 43. So we're fully funded. We're fully funded in 26, 27 of that many students. So it's a rolling, it's an increase in rolling.
So it could go down, but it could go up.
Yeah, if we continue to have a higher amount of students, it would in UPP, it would continue to go up.
Perfect, thank you.
Can I ask one other question, just to clarify? If we approve this and then you change the funding moving forward, does that guarantee these programs for 3 years then, or is it just this year and next year?
Well, the reality of any school position is it isn't guaranteed forever, right? It's depending on the needs going forward. But it would be the reason what would change, right, is that we're moving into what's hopefully a more permanent funding source than one-time money. And so it's our hope that we can continue these programs on in perpetuity. I think what's really important out of that question that was just asked to combine those two, right, is that it's also important that we keep up the effort of collecting the data, right? Because if we were to start to fall in that area, then that would be challenging for us to continue the programs. And so, but that's something that we're working on as well to make sure that that part continues on. But it's our indication at this point to make this more of a regular part of how we do business rather than one-time funding.
Excellent. Thank you. I had one more question. Would it be dangerous for us to stipulate that, like Steve said, it is used for that for 3 years? Or is that something that's dangerous because we don't know?
Well, it will be stipulated, but it'll be in a different way than you think, right? Because part of our responsibility with the supplemental money is to account for that in the LCAP. So when we do our LCAP plan that the board will approve in June, that will be listed in there as an expense going forward. So in essence, you will be indicating that that's what you're doing going forward.
Thank you.
Sure.
Sorry.
No, don't do no. So moving towards talking about the first interim budget, we're looking at how it changed from the adopted budget and why. So if you take a look at our unrestricted revenues, and unrestricted side of the budget, again, is the majority of revenues or expenditures that it takes to run a school district. When we use the term restricted, it's more of a focused categorical type of funding that might be ongoing, like lottery funding, or it might be one time, like some of the COVID funds, but you can only spend it on specific, expenditures. So looking at unrestricted for first interim, so our LCFF revenue went up by 2.2 million. And what that was is that the supplemental, which we just talked about, went up by 1.2. And then our LCFF base grant revenue went up by 960,000. And that had to do that because we also increased in enrollment. Which I will show you at a slide farther down. But we went up enrollment from adopted budget to now, so it bumped up our base grant as well. So overall, our unrestricted revenues went up by 2.2 almost $2.3 million. Taking a look at restricted revenues from adopted budget. So again, when you look at restricted revenues, when we bring the adopted budget, we haven't even closed the previous fiscal year. So especially on the restricted side, we're not still sure how much of each categorical was spent. The revenues are closed, and the expenditures are closed out. Things from, say, ASB, local donations, Parents Club. If you take a look at that, that went up by 1.3 million. And it's not so much that the revenue went up, the accounting of it was budgeted. But for example, other state revenue, we're going up by 454,000, and that partially has to do with lottery increase that's projected, and part of it has to do with the amount of Prop 28, which is the arts and music grant money that we are getting now annually. Federal funding, it went up by $445,000. Some of that had to do with not being spent in the 23-24 in some of the restricted title programs, and it's carried over. So total increase was 1.9 million. And then if you look at the combined, because our budget is one budget, and the revenues increased by 4.2 million, and as we said, unrestricted was 2.2, and restricted was 1.9 million. Then we take a look at expenditures and how from adopted budget to first interim, they've changed. And we start out looking at our costs of our certificated salaries. And certificated salaries went up by $795,000. I'm not going to read through each one. What I'm going to do is refer to them as I talk through the reason why. So, for example, certificated salaries went up in large part because the negotiated increases are now included in the budget. Same thing for the classified salaries of going up $570,000 on the unrestricted side. Employee benefits, they went down. And this has to do in part because when we budget for all the open positions or all the new hires, we don't know what their health and welfare, like what they're going to take. Are they going to take one party, two party, three party? So that is worked out after, payroll and when they've been hired. Also statutory benefits are aligned. So that went down, and that really has to do with truing up from the adopted budget. Books and supplies, matter of fact, I can kind of show you. So in books and supplies, it went up 330,000. And again, a part of that was we purchased teacher laptops for our refresh program, which was $160,000. And that was an item that was not budgeted at adopted budget. Instructional supplies always go up a little bit because once the teachers are there and they're not budgeted yet, the school may have their site budgets, but it's sitting in their site reserve. It's not actually, they've decided for wood shop that they're going to purchase this or, for art. So those budgets go up a little bit. Custodial supplies, that also we increase over time. We have, with custodial budgets, we don't want to over budget in the beginning because we don't want to spend more than we need, but we always follow it closely because custodial supplies are very expensive. But that's an example of how that works. And then under the category of services and operating expenditures, remember this is utilities, housekeeping, PG&E, water, sewer, it's professional development, it's technology contracts, human resource business contracts, it's transportation. And so it's also one of the areas that did go up from adopted budget is what we call our LVN nursing supports for students. And this is on the unrestricted side because these are gen ed students. It's not necessarily because they're part of the special education program that might need one-on-one aid LVN nursing support while they're in school. Looking at the expenditure side, somewhat of the same, although certificated salaries went down. Well, that has to do with a budget. That's a budget item because we have special education speech and language pathologists that we couldn't fill several of the positions. So we have gone to an outside company to do that. So you notice that under certificated salaries, it's a negative, and then under services and operating expenditures, which is consulting agencies, say for non-public special education agencies, I mean, the 2.9 isn't all for them, but it went up in that category. Classified salaries went up and because of negotiated increases. Employee benefits went down a little, again, health and welfare costs not being what they were budgeted. Excuse me. You could also read here a little bit. Under books and supplies, so we went up by 1.1 million. But the thing is, on the restricted side, I want to give you some examples of why it goes up from when we had an adopted budget. Well, one that generally goes up throughout the year is our ELOP program. You know, how many students are in it, how many supplies we're going to provide, having the right to school. It goes up both in the books and supplies and on the next line of the services and operating expenditures. So for example, ELOP was increased 380,000, and it has to do with the number of students that they're servicing and supporting at the sites. Prop 28, so for books and supplies, our one-time arts and music funding, we purchased more supplies that cost about 110,000, but that's all really good because the money is there. It has to be spent within a certain, like within 2 years for each fiscal year. And so it means we were actually buying instruments, you know, music materials, things like that. So we increased those budgets. TK, we have a one-time TK grant that we have to use up this year. And it's been really, I see all the things they're buying as they unpack them all in the Learning Center, and Liz Ibarra puts it all out there, and then she invites the TK teachers in. It's actually pretty exciting what TKers get to do, but we spent another 101,000 since June in that budget. But again, it's one-time money and it's going away. So in some ways, you do need to buy down on, you know, the restricted money that's in a time limit. Under services and operating expenditures, again, some expenditures that, you know, weren't there at adopted budget and they are now. An example of one-time funding is educator effectiveness, which is a professional development money. We increased that budget by 140,000. Again, that's money that's going to run out. Special education, non-public schools, you know, we have more students since before school started that are been placed in non-public schools, non-public agencies where they might need more supports. Those have gone up. We've done legal settlements. All of that is a component of running our special education program. Another piece that went up this time, we went up about 550,000 in our maintenance and operation because that is called a restricted budget, not funded by the district. By the state, it's funded by unrestricted general fund. But we've done a lot of projects this fall that deferred maintenance at the schools that were behind schedule. For example, asphalt repairs at playgrounds and parking lots, $42,000. There was a fire alarm upgrade at Bristow, $18,000. We had 3 major irrigation issues at different schools where we have to dig underground and call in a company, 48,000. So again, that's things that we didn't know about that will happen throughout the year. And that's why you see an increase, especially in that category. So when you take a look at expenditure increases at first interim, combined, they are 5.2 million, 1.6 in unrestricted and 3.6 in restricted dollars. So then we always take a look at our, what we call the fund balance, our ending fund balance. And at first interim, we have total revenues after the changes we just discussed of over 141 million. Total expenditures were over 147 million. So we have, like you saw, more expenditures than revenue. So we decreased by 5.7 million. What I really want you to sort of look at is the last two lines, because our ending fund balance is both restricted and unrestricted, because there's two sides of the budget. And I'm actually going to bump ahead for a moment just to explain what the unrestricted ending fund balance, what that means. Well, okay, I take that back. I won't. We'll go to multi-year assumptions. So we talked about what's changed since adopted budget. In the revenue side, the things that changed, I talked about enrollment. So at adopted budget, if you look at the first circle with the arrow, it shows for 24-25 that our enrollment is 10,048 students. Well, when we came to the board in June, we predicted 9,953 students. And that was based on enrollment, projected enrollment, what we knew in May, historical growth over the summer, but we exceeded that. So we're going to get more base grant funding because of that. And then our UPP, which we already talked about, that went up as well. So that is why these are the assumptions that changed. Now, there's a whole list of assumptions for expenditures, and when we come back at second interim, all those will be, some of those will be changed because we'll already be into the governor's 25-26 budget. But for this, this budget, we're looking at enrollment and UPP. So now we take a look at the multi-year projections for this year, 25-26 and 26-27. So if you take a look at the first circle, this is the combined ending fund balance. So we talked about 24-25, and at first interim, we have 14.2 million in our combined ending fund balance. And again, remember, you have the restricted ending fund balance, which is 6.5, and the unrestricted ending fund balance. And what I wanted to share, which will be in the next slide, is the district was required at a bare minimum to have a 3% ending fund balance reserve in the unrestricted side. Now, 3% does not cover 1 month payroll. It's really the state minimum required, and I would say that most elementary school districts in the state have still have about 18 to 20% ending fund balance reserve. So if you take a look at where we are today, so what is in this unrestricted ending fund balance reserve? So we have 7.7 million. So the first line is 3% is for economic uncertainties. We had a board adopted additional reserve, which the board rescinded at the August meeting in order to, provide for the negotiated increases. Right now, we would have 1.3 of that sitting in there, which is not a full 1.25%. When you take a look at the site and central LCAP, so the 1.2 million we talked about, that's supplemental money, plus there's a little more than that that's not budgeted right now. So 1.3 million of the unrestricted ending fund balance is still restricted to supplemental. Lottery has some reserve in it as well. So we have right now 5.26% in ending fund balance reserve. One thing that I will also talk about before we close is just that this does not include any negotiated increases for this year, for 24-25. So that will come out of this ending fund balance reserve that we have. Looking at 25-26, the reserve would be 4.43%. That would include the cost, the increases in revenue, from supplemental funding, and in keeping the one-time money positions that was discussed before, and 5.26 in the third year out. So this is a budget that the board can certify. You're also always taking a look at all the other funds in our budget. And Fund 13, Cafeteria Fund, I do want to point out it has a large ending fund balance. This is only allowable expenditures for the food service program. It's federally run and program. And the reason the balance is so high, I think, has to do mostly because of universal lunches. I mean, districts used to have to help fund these programs. But just so you know, we have to provide to the state a 3-year plan of how it's all being spent down. You're actually not allowed to just hold it. But as you know, when Kristen Nissen presented last April, we've added cooks and bakers. We've actually getting new flooring at 2 kitchens. We're getting more new tilt skillets and commercial equipment. So it's actually funding the change as we move to more fresh cooked food over time. Fund 21 is, I want you to know, that says the bond fund. So that's the fund for Measure B. And the 128,000 ending fund balance, this closed in October 31st, and we had not sold the 9 million in bonds. So that is the reason it was time to go out and sell another series of bonds. So the ending fund balance will be much higher when we look at second interim. And again, Fund 25 can only be used on using construction and modernization as we grow. Fund 35 is also like statutorily required to be used on capital outlay. So all of these funds you cannot transfer or move into any other fund except Fund 17, which we have used some of that money to pay when we were opening IME. So as I said, the things to remember as we come back and think about what we're going to spend between now and, the end of January and through the end of the years, we do have negotiated salary increases. On January 10th, the governor releases his 25-26 proposed budget. This happens every year. But what it does is it outlines what he thinks are priorities and what he thinks the COLA is going to be for the next year. If he thinks there's going to be, any one-time money, or if he's going to put it all in other places, not education. And then for our budget process, he comes back in May and he says, this is what I think my budget's going to be for July 1st. There's more, work with the legislature. And then by June 15th, they have a new budget. And at the same time, we've already written our budget and brought it to you to be passed around that time. But second interim will update the multi-year projections is what it does, the main impact it has over time. So we're asking you to approve a positive certification. Thank you.
Vic, there's going to be a test on this.
Pop quiz.
If there are no questions from the board, I move that we approve item 10.3, the first interim.
Well, I'd like to make a comment first about the counseling because I believe it is part of this and the importance of safety and belonging and those issues. When I hear 47,000 contacts, it represents a huge impact on the ability of students to function well. We certainly have to follow these fiduciary responsibilities that we also have as a board, but our children is first, and I hope that I as part of this motion, I'm hoping that we are including that the counseling will remain in the program.
Yeah, so just to sort of follow up on that, Emil, is the approval of the action item will be for the interim report, the required for that. But we're also asking for your direction to continue the intervention and the counseling programs as they are with the new money as we go.
So by approval, we're saying.
Yes.
Let's go for
pretty much, unless you're telling me no.
that work.
We are not.
Please.
Motion has been made.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Aye.
Any noes?
guys are welcome to stay, and we'd love to have you, but it's also, everybody will understand if you go.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for coming out.
So much. Happy holidays. Thank
You
you
as
guys
well.
so much. This year.
Merry Christmas, everybody. Guess you get to that.
Say whatever.
All right, next, 10.4, approval of resolution 2024-30.
Okay. This is an annual resolution we asked the board to pass. What it is, it's a resolution where we have provided an accounting of the Fund 25 developer fees, annual expenses for the fiscal year 23-24.
I'll make a motion that we approve 10.4 resolution 2024-30.
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. Any noes? Okay. All right, 10.5, approval of 2024-2025 collective bargaining sunshine.
Yeah, this is, we're coming before you board, and this is the California School Employees Association. I apologize, especially with the rowdy crowd back there. California School Employees Association, Chapter 895. This is our CSEA group, and this is what we'll be negotiating for this school year.
If nobody has any questions, I'll make a motion that we approve 10.5, 2024-2025 collective bargaining sunshine agreement.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any noes? Okay. 10.6, approval of 2024-2025 collective bargaining sunshine.
So similar, this is for our CLC group, and so we're moving forward with sunshining their articles. It will be paying allowances, was the salary, health and welfare, and then we are bringing forward Article 12, which is leaves.
I move that we approve the 24-25 collective bargaining sunshine.
I second that motion.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any noes? Okay, motion passes. 10.7, first reading of board policy, board bylaw, administrative regulation.
Yes, board. So this is just an information item that Mrs. Clevin has provided you with a summary of the changes based on law. And if there's any questions, we can address those. Otherwise, they'll come back for you on consent agenda at the January meeting.
Thank you.
All right, next, 10.8, election of officers of the Board of Trustees.
I'll nominate Emil Geddes as the president of the Board of Trustees for the 2025 calendar year.
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Any noes?
I'd like to thank the board for entrusting me to take the leadership of this board, and
Easy decision.
Easy decision. Good.
Yeah, so thank you, Twee. This concludes your presidency.
Absolutely.
Nice
Twee. Awesome job. Getting a little overwhelming with all these doctors on here. We're rolling. We're rolling.
Well, as my first item 10.9, the election of officers, I would like to nominate Scott Dudek as this coming year's clerk.
Yeah.
Pulled a Biden on us.
I'll second that motion.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 I'd like to thank the board for my, only kidding. Continue.
We're on 10:10 now. You
Item 10.10, the appointment of board representatives. We have,
I can make a motion on this if you
sure,
like.
go right ahead.
I move that we elect the following members to the following positions. East County Transportation Consortium would be Clerk Scott Dudek. Employee Negotiation Committee would be Scott Dudek and Steve Gursky. The Interagency Committee would be Emil Geddes and Dr. Tweedow Jensen. The Construction Committee would be Emil Geddes and Steve Gursky. And the Equity Committee would be Dr. Tweedow Jensen and Vic Thornhill.
Do I have a second? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, passes. Item 10. 10.11, the filing statement of facts for the roster of public agencies. This is an action item.
So sorry, the next couple items are requirements every time we do a changeover.
Signatures and all.
All that. Nicole will chase you down afterwards.
I'll
if she
take a
hasn't already.
motion.
Move that we approve 10.11, the filing of statement of facts for a roster of public agencies.
Second.
Item 10.11 has been moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
So passed. Any against? No, so passed.
Move that we approve item 10.12, authorized signature resolution.
Second.
Item 10.12 has been authorized. Signature solutions, those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Pass.
I'll make a motion that we approve the Brentwood Board Governance Handbook. There has been no changes to it.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Item 10.14.
I would like to nominate Twee for this position, that she's done a fabulous job for at least the last 4 years, maybe even longer that I'm aware of.
I will second the nomination and the sentiment.
Consideration for Twee for the CSBA Delegate Assembly has been moved and seconded. Those in favor?
All right.
Aye. So moved. So approved. For next, do we have any agenda items that anyone would like to bring up for next time?
Not at this time.
One of the things we'll have for you next time aboard at the next official meeting is we will have an update on the dashboard. You may have seen that in the paper. We wanted to bring you a thorough review.
So our next meeting is a special meeting. Yes.
Yeah, do it. Just refresh. Is that the principals meeting?
No, the next meeting will be with cabinet. It's sort of getting the goals started for next year mid-year review, and then the regular board meeting will be on the 15th.
Perfect.
I'll accept a motion to close the meeting.
I will grant you that acceptance. I'll second it.
So moved. All in favor?
Aye.
Have a great holiday.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Thank you, Robert.